Welcome back to Animal Songs, a story set to music, written and performed by Jamie Holcomb. I've mentioned the Ouroboros before. That symbol is all-encompassing, personal, cultural. Understanding the inner mysteries is all about having regard for your own serpentine nature. Upon the Omphalos, the oracle waits, spinning serpents in her wake. Prognostication, shrimp. 1. Warshaw hatches a plan. It took quite a while for him to recognize his father. The crew of the SS Enterprise arranged themselves at different tables in the cantina. Warshaw, the Humps, Crystal, and Starla sat together at a round wooden table in the center of the dark room. They shared a glass pitcher of water, and they constantly refilled their cups, silently drowning their worries. Finally, Mr. Hump spoke. "How are we going to pay?" He nodded over Warshaw's shoulder to the bar, where the slim, spectacled bartender filled a mug of beer while he glared at the table of foreigners. "I have opened the tab," said Warshaw, and he sighed. "The conclusion of our story, I must admit, has been deliberately kept mysterious." "What?" said Frederick. "He doesn't know," said Frida. She snatched the pitcher and refilled her husband's tin cup. "He doesn't know what's going to happen, and that's fine. That's just fine. We'll think of something." She gave Warshaw a thin smile and refilled her own cup. Crystal rocked Starla asleep in her arms. Now the old man, mug of beer in hand, dragged a stool steel scraping to their table and plopped down between Frida and Warshaw. "You owe me 1 hour's work," he said, scanning around the table. "Each of you." "Nobody understands you," said Warshaw. He didn't bother to turn to look at the man, but he kept his head propped on his right hand, right elbow on the table, his eyes downcast, except me. It wasn't until the bartender called out from behind him, banging a dime on the counter, that Warshaw faced the stranger, for the barkeep said, "Oi, you forgot your change, Geppetto." Warshaw dropped his arm and turned to look properly at the old Piroan. His face was lined, his jowls were loose, his hair gray, his mustaches thick and drooping, and he could have been any old pig farmer in his breeches, tunic, and traditional conic cap, with his sharp Pierrot nose and miserly demeanor. "It's for us," Warshaw called to the bar. "The change, for our tab." He waved to indicate the table in the corner where Ruby, Violet, and Peter shared their own pitcher. Senor Geppetto Warshaw blustered and blew his mustaches, and before he could protest, his son started to laugh. "Oh," said the old man, "it's you." 2. Violet sees the future. With his hat pulled low, the Chimera's pink pig skin was hidden from casual observers. His orange cow legs could be furred trousers, not uncommon among the inland herders. Especially in the darkness of the cantina, at the corner table, seated with his back against the wall, a tin cup pressed to his lips. Like that, Violet could be just another person. Across the table, Ruby bounced Todd on her lap and chatted with Peter about their feelings, their fear of the fire, and their shock at the curt old man and his concern for money, a topic which sent them into giggles. Now they reminisced about their journey, the day Starla had caught a big carp, the way the sunset had changed to deeper shades of purple, hadn't you noticed, as they drifted further east. "And of course," said Ruby, directing her chestnut eyes across the table, "who could forget your swim?" Then she looked back to Peter. "Either of your swims." Violet touched his hat brim to Peter. "I have you to thank," he said. He kept his lips on the rim of his cup. Ruby was 16. Peter and Violet were about the same age, not much younger. "Now what are we going to do?" said Violet. He refilled his glass and chuckled to himself. 3. Senor Warshaw fills in the blanks. At the round table in the center of the cantina, Crystal and Frida were asking Warshaw 1,000 questions to answer or translate concerning his newly discovered father. The old man silently sipped his mug, letting his mustaches drench with cream-colored foam. "It is as I told you before," said Warshaw to the ladies. Frederick Hump eyed the old man's drink and licked his lips, and when the old fellow spotted the fisherman's hungry eyes, he scooted his stool a pace back from the table. "Wait," said Warshaw to his father. "Oh, so you wouldn't like it if I left with no goodbye?" "I have already explained that," said Warshaw. "Besides, we need your help. So much has changed." The old man let his mug drop to his lap. His face was etched with wrinkles, his leather skin baked by years of toil under the sun. His face was worn and set in this expression of consternation that had always looked down at Pinocchio Sinwarshaw, a mask steady, blank, unreadable, his father's face. "My help," said the old man. "Yes, what's the word on the shrine? Has anyone heard from Brother Daly?" "Well," said the old man, and he looked down at his mug. "Yes," said his son. Geppetto Sinwarshaw gripped the cold, barrel-shaped porcelain, and he swirled his drink, watching the foam spiral. "You came all this way," he said, "to see him?" 4. The king makes an appearance. In they trampled, stampeding leather soles, clinking concealed iron. The smell of char and dust clouded around the band of hardy youths that crowded the bar. Even in the low light of the cantina, Warshaw could still perceive their soot-stained cheeks. The 3 buttons of every tunic were undone, exposing ruddy, hair-tangled chests, and rolled sleeves revealed similarly furred, brawny forearms. Incredible, blazes, hours, and I was like, around, all around. You never saw, blazing, not now, no never, so much for, aha, you said it, so much for. Warshaw turned back to his table-mates' astonished eyes. "I believe," said the scholar, "they have stopped the fire." The boys clinked glasses and heroically cheered. "So much for, haha, no, not anymore, haha." 5. The plan comes together. Finally, Mr. Hump spoke. "I'd be glad to assist you in your swineherdship, Your Honor, for as many, however much time you require, I shall serve it, if in fact an advance of the pay might be allowed for one of," and the fisherman pointed at the Peruan's arm, concealing his mug beneath the table. "Mr. Hump, why, you speak our language most beautifully," said Warshaw. "A lot of different types come down the river," said the fisherman. "Picked up a bit of everything." "Your Honor," said Warshaw Sr. He scratched his chin and scrutinized this burly servant. Frederick licked his lips. His wife slapped his shoulder, then shook her head at Crystal. "I asked him to clean a dish. Ha! Clean a mug, maybe." Finally, the Right Honorable Geppetto Sinwarshaw dug a hand in his pocket and flipped a silver coin onto the table. 6. A view from the top. Behind the bartender, behind the shelves of colored liquors, concealed by those green, blue, orange, red, crystalline vessels, there hung an enormous mirror, and in it he saw the party of hardy firefighters reveling at the bar, the approaching foreign man armed with a glinting dime, and beyond, the wooden planks, the candlelit tables, the 2 green glass windows that framed the swinging door, those bottle-thick windows of latticed glass beholding the shadowed forms of the world outside. "Soon," the bartender whispered to his reflection. He faced a wiry man, his hair a web of black cords crowning a skull-like visage, owl-eyed, needle-nosed, pencil-mustached, a smile of yellow lines, the keeper of the cantina. Behind him, the stocky foreigner breached the horde of heroes to tap his coin on the bar. "Wouldst thou?" the fellow spoke. The barman left himself to tend to the coin, to fill a mug with foamy stout. He flipped the triangular handle above his iron spout and let the fluid flow. 7. A plan comes together. While the bartender fills his mug, let us consider the metal grate, the dribble of runoff flowing between these silver slats. Follow the flow past the glass, lotus-like bowl bearing syrup-candied cherries, along the deep orange counter, past the stacked cups, upright manly mugs of cold channeling porcelain, 1, 2, more and more, down the counter, past the sliding metal panels housing untold utilities, to the floor, the oak-planked floor. Or is it cedar wood, some stable material of unknown lignity, where below the barman's black cuff, beside his 2 waxed, 2 shiny, dark patent shoes, there rests a staff, white ash, long, and at the top gnarled in a shape that at this moment exactly resembles the long-eared head of a rabbit. 8. Fortune favors the bold. On the left-hand side of the bar, a short hallway revealed 2 black doors. The first bore on its face the sign of a female, a ring supported by a keyhole cross. The second door was scarred with the burned outline of a ring thrusting an arrow. Behind this second door, the world turned white. Tile floors, tangled glow worms crawling across the ceiling, and the enclosed echo of a tight space, almost devoid of the colorations of background noise, or all containing of such sounds, the subtle drip and shush of concealed pipework, and the simple scrapings of thick keratin on blank tile, all held within a white, reflective chamber. Indeed, the space posed mirrors to itself, by threes above basins promising water, all white echoing back on itself, surrounding the middle mirror, which beheld the thing. Conglomerate of all else, subsidiary of colors, pink, red, orange, green, and purple veins, yellow flecks perceiving themselves. If he could have seen the rainbow of himself, he would cease to be it, or become it fully. He bent the black hat to shadow this face, considering how best to hide, to protect it from the outside. There was no hope. He could not give up hoping. Out there, from where the thickened hollering of the vivacious heroes rumbled the dark door, where he was not alone, it was like the shock of cold water. He flapped the brittle fins on his back and made his solemn wish. Her eyes. He stamped a hoof, hoping to hear the crunch of 100 perfect tiles. Instead, his deadened foot met with something soft, forgiving. A woven basket sat beneath his view. Pulling the secret object into the white light, Pilot discovered a pile of red and purple rags. There was no thought to think. He manipulated his discovery into a long rope, and he knew, deeply, that he would conceal the garment, wrapped tightly around his torso, beneath his vest, this very useful, coincidental bundle of just the right colored rags. Why, it would be our little secret, until the perfect moment would reveal itself too. 9. The ladies reach an agreement. He had always such trouble with it. She scowled at Furderer's back, vanishing behind the celebrating boys. Just look at them, not a care, not a thing in the world outside for them. Her turban unwound and hanging loosely across her shoulders, the mother's golden tresses framed her mask of serenity, shining down on the sleeping child in her arms. She, too, was like gold. Crystal hummed softly beneath the shouts and laughs, the roar and buzz of conversation surrounding them. Frida Hump, head held by her left hand, elbow pressed on the table, considered the picture beside her, and her scowl relaxed. Something else, huh? She spoke to no one in particular, and then directly to Crystal. Was her father blonde too? Red, said Crystal, as if it were a note in her song, the ongoing hum beneath the words they now shared. Well, said Frida, I'll bet he was a looker. Some people thought so. I'll bet. Just look at the doll. What a perfect angel. Crystal released a breath on the end of her phrase. I understand, said Frida. No need to dwell on the past. Well, that's all behind us. I don't mean to pry, just curious. That's what gets me. Always nosing into other people's business. I don't like to think much about everyone we left back there. Now and then, though, they come back to me. Mrs. Hazel. Did you know her? Bakery on the South End. She was a frightful gossip. So much fun. Oh, and the Smiths, the Coopers. I'm sure they must have figured something out. Take it from me, why, in a few months we could just sail straight back the way we came and find everything going along just like an ordinary Monday, I imagine. Who knows, maybe you'll turn the key and he'll be sitting by the fire, mug in hand. Ha! Who knows, said Crystal. 10. The Gentleman's Argument. Father and son spoke in somber tones about the state of the world around them. The old man explained the condition of the economy, the problems with the new king, former prince recently crowned, ignorant of what was proper to real life, mature situations, tragedy, consequences. He'll learn now, the man repeated between sips from his mug. The temple was a ruin. Emblem and embodiment of the meaning of this place, gone, doubtless mismanaged, neglected, obviously the disaster linked to the dire state of things operating under this foolish king. How many fathers and how many nations throughout how many centuries of realities have diagnosed the state of the world around them? Pinocchio's in Warshaw wished for a sip from a mug of his own, but how could he ask for the dime given the content of the old man's diatribe? How could he interject with the description, scale by scale, of the long-pursued object of his secret quest? And then, as he nodded his head and doubted whether what he had seen had really been there or if it had simply been a meandering form in the clouds beheld by a rather oafish scholar, the old man asked, "Nothing," said Pinocchio. "Nothing? Kidnapped? By a witch, no less? In the company of that there monster returning from the John? Rescuing these 3 damsels in distress with servants to boot? And you came all this way for nothing? Just a visit with nothing? Come on, boy, I remember. Every day, I never saw anybody go after something like that. Most folks, you know the way I see it. But that shrine was an important place, and a lot to a lot of people. I understand. It must have been pretty important to you to come all this way. Yes. Well, said his father, and he could not stop inventing suggestions for what the crew might do next. It's a big world, and I suppose just about anything might be possible in it. 11. Mr. Hump receives a tip. Foam finally settled, the wiry barman removed the porcelain vessel from the slats, and he set the mug slightly sliding on the silk surface of the bar. "Ah," exclaimed the foreigner, and speaking to himself, he proceeded in his native tongue. "I've only the coin for the drink. Forgot I'll be expecting." "Nonsense," said the barman in the same language. "Well, now where'd you pick that up?" "Oh, I know just about everything. Standing." He directed a thumb to his back, where the mirror behind the shelves was shaking from the beating boots of the firemen, who, Mr. Hump could see in the reflection, had locked arms and were trading partners as they stomped and slapped. "Here," said the barman. "Everyone comes through here." "Well," said Mr. Hump, "with my apologies." He set the dime on the counter. The barman slid it back. "Nonsense," he said. Mr. Hump raised an eyebrow. He took his mug and nodded to the obsequious servant. As he paced back to the table in the center of the room, he considered the drink. "Sir," he said to the old Peruan as he sat beside him. Then he thought better and looked to Warshaw. "Ask your pop this. How long has he known that Whiskey Joe?" "He says it has been too long to count, years. And in all that time, he ever get a free drink?" Warshaw did not need to translate the old man's boisterous bellow and shaking head. Mr. Hump set his drink on the table and scratched his chin as he stared into the foamy liquid. 12. How to win the game of peekaboo. In the bottom left corner of the mirror, just behind a red glass decanter etched with a pattern of diamonds, held within that space, Ruby turned to reveal her face to the bandy Puro fireman bending over her shoulder. "I'm sorry," she said in words the fireman could not interpret. "Huh?" he said. His mouth hung open sourly. Peter held Todd, and the boys made eye contact. "Kuchku," the fireman said, and he waggled his thick fingers at Todd. Then he spread those meaty palms over his eyes. Todd's green stare widened. He revealed his face. In the bottom corner of the mirror, the red decanter contained Todd's face. "Ruby," said Peter. "Todd?" The fireman fell into formation before the bar, a wall of sturdy shoulders. The barman smiled malevolently between the lines. Across the room, Mr. Hump shrugged and tipped back his glass. 13. The plan hatches. "Where?" said Ruby. The fireman still lingered over her shoulder, frozen with his hands covering his face. Ruby looked at Peter, alone, his head revolving as he scanned the bar. "I just had him," he said. "I swear he was right here." 14. Patience is a virtue. The situation ongoing, as Ruby and Peter searched the red-lit cantina, it would be wise to reconsider, Violet, just how long it has taken you to creep down that short hallway, how the celebrating heroes have seemingly paused, ritualistically posed now as guards blocking your return. Momentarily, a moment for you to consider just what you might be able to do given the pieces of mismatched fabric wrapped around you. Here, let's invite Peter to circle below the table, to crawl along the dark wall, while Ruby hurries to the center of the room. Let's invite Peter to sneak on all fours just past your thick foot, to pause just for the moment, just for this precise moment. Look at her, Violet. See how she runs. See how she bends, those stripes curving across that form. How perfect. How would she find it if... Don't think, now, in this moment, it could be our little secret, as he's paused, concealed by the boots of an army. That's it. Wrap them well, my pet. Make sure to hide those hideous legs of yours, you beast, you thing. Oh, there's plenty of fabric just like that. See how he has them laid out, mirror to the mirror. Now, see him pickling in my jar. Here you go. There you go. Now, don't think. Run. 15. On the limitations of magic. I wonder how he got away from me. I would have felt him crawl. He must have crawled. How could I let myself get so distracted? How could he have gone all this way? How long has he been gone? How could I have not felt him missing for so long? Just a little guy. Chubby pink cheeks laughing. Oh, why do I? No. Find him. That's all there is to it. Think like shiny. Surely he crawled. I don't know. I didn't know he could crawl. Or I'm just weighed down while I was worrying about her. Oh, how could I? Yes, shiny. The light. The hall. Could he have gone in? Could a little guy like that open a door? Excuse me. Oh, I wish I spoke. Yes. You understand? Thank goodness. Yes. Have you seen the child, the infant? You have. Certainly, come right this way. It's interesting what you don't remember. How could I overlook something as obvious as that fat little tyke missing from my lap? I should have been able to feel him. Yes, I should have been paying attention. Yes, it's your fault. My fault. It's my fault. Where's the light? 16. Ruby makes a mistake. I don't understand, she said. 1 minute, and then the next. She hid her face in her hands, and her sister pulled her into a one-armed hug. On her right, Crystal held Ruby against her body, and on her left, Starla in her lap and the crook of her elbow. The Warshaw men returned to the table, both wearing the same grave mask. No sign, Warshaw began, but he was interrupted by the shrieking of Frida Hump. She pointed, and all heads turned to see a figure wrapped in rags run through the bar. Under his arm, clearly visible, was the red jar containing Todd. Peter, said Ruby. 16. The boys give chase. Mr. Hump, cried Warshaw. The fisherman lay face down on the table. Frida slapped him across the shoulders and cheeks. She pinched his ears and stomped on his feet, all to no avail. Where is Violet? Said Warshaw. No matter. He turned to his father, and he noticed for the first time how severely he stooped. The old man pointed to the door. What are you waiting for? Find out what the devil is going on. With one last bow, Warshaw bolted from the cantina. Meanwhile, the frozen wall of firemen began to whisper. 17. Warshaw makes an introduction. Outside, the world was dark. The black water lapped the seawall. The only other sound was the clatter of Warshaw's old leather shoes slapping the brick path. It took him a few steps to realize that he had lost sight of the thief in the night. No one. A woman, an old woman, stood beneath a dull paper lamp. It hung on a pole projecting from the corner of her small display cart. Flowers, she said, as Warshaw bolted into the glow of her lamp. She motioned to her displayed blossoms, red and orange Pierrot roses, arranged in loose clumps, all standing upright on their stems, across the wooden counter. Warshaw only had a moment to scrutinize this odd sight before he said, Did you see someone run past just now? Oh, yes, said the flower peddler. A boy in rags? Yes. Which way did he go? Why, he vanished. Yeah, he's missing. Right before my eyes, he disappeared. Did he do something wrong? For some of us, people, when we feel threatened, when we are in pain, the greatest joy we believe we can experience is to see that pain inflicted on others, the ones that threaten us. When everything that you believe about the world is called into question, it's easier to destroy the interrogator than to answer him. The more threatening the question is to you, the more complete the destruction must be to them, the false. They must be false, proven wrong at all costs. Any amount of effort to accomplish this task comes more easily to people than does a change of mind. As he retreated to the cantina, Warshaw recalled a very old story that he had once read in the shrine of Crispin. It concerned an alchemist who had discovered the fundamental law of transmutation. But when this sorcerer began to describe his techniques to people, the young princes of Pierrot Bay, the youths turned woefully introspective. These boys began to question their entire place in this world. They became useless to all royal endeavors, to all conquests, to all economic acquisitions. For what purpose can the pursuit of gold serve someone who knows the laws of transmutation? How much appeal can even the brightest gem garner to a person who holds the universe in his palm? It was only right that the dukes and barons of the king's court should agree to remove this destructive element from the body of Pierrot Bay. The alchemist was put to death, to dine on his own sulfuric potions. Often Brother Daly and his young disciple would discuss this story. Who was right? Who was wrong? Brother Daly, keeper of the secret library, held that knowledge is power and so must be safeguarded by those who would use it wisely, or else it might overwhelm or misdirect the poor student. Young Warshaw's persistent argument was that everybody knows this story. While Warshaw walked in heavy steps along the black ocean, he remembered these conversations with his mentor. He ran his right hand up the left lapel of his special suit jacket. Why would Peter do this? It was just as he reached the door of the cantina that Warshaw looked to the sky. The night was gray clouded, but through those misty forms he could see. She was there. He felt the pale light on his skin, his hands, his chest. He knew he felt it. He was all silver, standing there beside the soothing lull of the ocean. He whispered, I will find the answer. Softly he opened the creaking door to return to his friends. 18. Violet returns. Very good, my pet. Yes, they are forlorn. She'll come around. Don't worry about her. Just take your seat beside her. Feel her silken tresses as she lets her pretty head rest upon your unlucky shoulder. It'll be all right. Yes, even your arm will be allowed around her shoulder, and it will be our little secret. Grave-faced, sour, cheap fool, unremitting, cowardly miser. Daffy simultaneously honest with her joyful replica, dancing that dull play together. Don't look at her. These two buffoons, and you, monstrous one and all. Well, it will be our little secret. Everything will be all right. This has been Animal Songs, written and performed by Jamie Holcomb, produced by Supermoon. Find us on TikTok, YouTube, or at our website, gosupermoon.com. That's GOSUPERMOON.com. You can also find our work alongside many other talented artists at looksees.com. That's LOOK-SEES.com. This concludes the Shrimp chapter. I wonder what spirit we will meet next. Until then, thank you for listening.
I want to tell you what you do.